No place like the Q.
Coming across your airwaves, dance with me. It's an intersection all day. And it's gonna bring you the weekly.
Family, is the news overwhelming? Is it just too much? Well, I get you, and I got you.
Yeah.
Family, this is your favorite queer radio personality, Anna Deshawn, and this is Queer News, your favorite weekly news pod where race and sexuality meet politics, culture, and entertainment. This is your number one stop for queer news done right, only on E3 Radio.
In fairness now, if another guy did it, it would still be a big deal because we live in a homophobic society. And that's unfortunate. That's why, first of all, anybody who think we ain't got a bunch of gay players in all sports, they're just stupid. But there is such animosity toward the gay community, and that's what's really unfortunate. But anybody think him, and I know a couple other soccer players that came out, if you think there are not more gay players in the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NBA, you're just stupid.
And that was Charles Barkley speaking up for us once again on ESPN. This time about Jason Collins and his legacy and the current state of gay players in major professional sports. At the end of the day, they are all still in the closet. And that's not a big surprise because sports, those locker rooms, are some of the most homophobic places you can find. But it's not lost on me either that Charles shows up on these big platforms standing up for the queers. He shows up at gay clubs. He speaks up on television. I don't know his why, but I do appreciate it. Now, last week, I announced our big move to Substack. The two reasons being connection and growth. Substack is going to allow us to have real conversations, threads, comments, and community spaces where we can actually talk to one another about the news that affects our lives. But Substack is also incredible when it comes to discoverability. It's going to help new people find queer news, which is the only way we hit our goal of 10,000 subscribers by 2027 and ensure this work is sustained for many years to come. So here's the deal. If you're already on our email list, don't worry. You don't have to do a thing. We're going to be doing the heavy lifting to move you over to Substack today, the day I'm recording this podcast, May 18th, okay? Now, there's going to be a couple of weeks here where you're going to see some overlap because I'm still going to email you on Kit to keep you up to date. And then the new newsletters are going to be on Substack as well. All right. So you're going to get 2 emails from us with different information for 2 weeks, just a little overlap. And then we'll all be on Substack by June 1st. All right. And for my QCrew, the paid subscribers who keep the lights on every single week, I can never say thank you enough for your support. And your support is more vital now than ever before, so thank you. Now, before June 1st, you'll want to cancel your membership on Kit, okay? And activate your membership on Substack. That's another reason I'm going to keep sending both emails because QCrew, I really want to make sure you have the link you need if you don't know how to cancel your membership, okay? And then I really, really want you to pick up your membership on Substack, okay? We're going to do the gayest thing possible and have everybody move by June 1st to kick off Pride Month with a massive Queer News Activate campaign. And I'm moving because I'm refusing to just survive out here, okay? Because that's what we've been doing. We've been surviving, holding the line, okay? Just getting by, truly. And I want to thrive in this life and build something that's gonna last. And for that, I have to get uncomfortable, like I talked about a couple of weeks ago on Anna's Got a Word, and take the advice of those around me. And I've been opening up. It's been beautiful. I can't wait to unleash all of the goodness we've got planned for Pride Month. We're moving, and it's gonna be good. Now for the news. This week on the Queer News Podcast, our top story is a follow-up. And we're going to break down the subpoena handed to NYU Langone Hospital on behalf of the Department of Justice. In Minnesota, students walk out after a 7-1 vote to remove a mother of a revolution from their spring concert. In sports, Jason Collins passes away at 47, and the community is mourning a real champion. In culture and entertainment, here, pride and belonging in African art finally unveils at the Smithsonian National Museum of African Art. And our friends, our media friends at Windy City Times, tell us about a new North Halsted Latino nightclub called El Bar. Let's go. For our top news story today, NYU Langone is one of multiple hospitals on the receiving end of a subpoena issued by the DOJ demanding the submission of providers' names and others who were involved in such care. By providers, the subpoena means doctors, assistants, nurses, accountants, and even volunteers who are involved in gender-affirming care in any capacity are under scrutiny. Within the same subpoena, the DOJ requests, quote, information on the trans youth receiving gender-affirming care, but what they're requesting is vague at best and purposefully obtuse at worst. They want names of the patients, but in addition to that, they are essentially looking for the patient's entire medical history as well. The subpoena reads, documents sufficient to identify each patient who underwent sex-rejecting procedures. Now see that last term, sex-rejecting procedures. Now this is how Head of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is unhinged at best, undercuts gender-affirming care with harmful diction seeped family in hate. It's heavily implied that failure to do so could result in jail time. A very common tactic of the Trump administration to try and use fear to get what they want, even if the way that they go about it is completely unlawful. Legal director of the National Center for LGBTQ Rights, Shannon Minter, told Mother Jones magazine that this is, quote, a blatant attempt to harass and intimidate medical providers based on this administration's ideological opposition to transgender people. Hospitals who've received subpoenas are meeting with their legal teams to prep patients and providers on how best to protect themselves during this time. With the continuous change in laws, reduction in federal funding for gender-affirming care, and the heavy, can I emphasize the heavy over-policing of people's bodies, the Trump administration is advancing their anti-trans agenda at an alarming rate. That's why it's imperative for people to speak out against anti-trans rhetoric. And that's why on this podcast, we're going to keep following these stories, because it's important for us to know what's happening within our community, because everybody's not safe right now. And if you all remember, 2 weeks ago, I talked about how we just had a big win, a federal decision saying that the Trump administration has no right to pool funding, Medicare and Medicaid funding from hospitals providing gender-affirming care to young people. Y'all remember that? It's a huge win, and more people should know about it. And I also talked about how in Chicago, there's only one hospital providing gender-affirming care for young people at this time, which is a complete 180 from years past. And in the state of Illinois, there's only 30. And I wanted to get more information. I wanted to dig into this story a bit more. So I tapped on the shoulder of a friend, Asher, the founder of Trans Upfront. And I want Asher to tell you a little bit about them, but also about the work Trans Upfront is doing in this moment.
I believe the reason we only have one hospital system currently accepting new patients for gender-affirming care from our young trans and gender nonconforming community members is because of the fear instilled by this federal administration and the threats of loss of funds. But we know, based on the recent federal ruling, that that's not true. The Trump administration cannot withhold funds for providing gender-affirming care. And yet, even in our sanctuary state, hospitals are not reopened. We are still watching them be closed. And it's because hospital systems are run by administrators, not physicians. Even though there are so many studies that show that gender-affirming care is life-saving, we're not seeing them take those next steps and actions and bringing back those patients. While we do have about 30 providers providing gender-affirming care as private practices across the state of Illinois, we only have about 10 in the actual Chicago area. And with those 10, Not all of them provide blocker care or care for our younger trans people who are just starting to enter puberty. And even within those, some of them are self-pay, and gender-affirming care is becoming an out-of-pocket expense, which is now causing other issues. We're making it that it's a privilege to get this care rather than a right. Gender-affirming care is enshrined in our Illinois Human Rights Act, and yet we're not seeing our electeds stand up and make those phone calls and demand that we reopen care. It's so important for us as community members, as advocates, as activists, as people who love, support, and respect trans individuals and want every trans child to grow up to be a trans adult, to call our electeds and say, will you call our hospital systems and tell them it's time to reopen?
Asher, I couldn't agree with you more. We, each individual person, is the expert in their own bodies, in their own lived experience. But I also wanted to know from Asher why they thought there was still only one hospital in Chicago providing gender-affirming care. I wanted to know what they thought, hear what they had to say.
We know that when a young trans person is unable to access gender-affirming care, they experience a higher level of depression, self-harm, suicide ideation, suicide attempts, and even loss of life. It is our goal at Trans Upfront to make sure that every young trans person grows up to be the trans adult that they're meant to be. We have always been here and we will always be here. And we know how hard it is right now, not just for our young people, but for the families that support them. And these decisions about their medical care need to be between the child, their parents, and their medical providers, not administrators, not hospital systems, and not the federal administration. We want to make sure that you know that you are valid, seen, and loved, and that we will fight every day to make sure that you get the access that you deserve, that's enshrined in the Illinois Human Rights Act here in the state of Illinois.
Thank you, Asher. And a couple of things. First, what I think Asher is saying, based upon their lived experience helping families navigate this treacherous environment, is that these hospitals, they're moving out of fear. Absolute fear from the Trump administration. And that's not something any of us can take lightly or blame them for. Because yes, Medicare and Medicaid is part of their funding, but they get a lot of other grants from the federal government that impact a lot of other folks' care as well. There's a lot to think about here, family. The second thing Asher brings up is the Illinois Human Rights Act. Now, if you're not familiar, this act prohibits discrimination and harassment in employment, housing, public accommodations, education, and financial credit. And it protects individuals from dozens of categories, okay? But it includes race, sex, sexual orientation, disability, and age. And here in the state of Illinois, sex and sexual orientation are expansive. It includes our trans siblings. And so the law is on our side, but we also know this administration to be very lawless. And so here we are, with one hospital in the city of Chicago providing gender-affirming care because they are moving out of fear. And when we report about the story about NYU Langone earlier, right? And if you remember when I reported about this a couple of months ago, and we included a clip and a quote from their Attorney General, Letitia James, saying that she was going to stand up to Trump, that in New York State, gender-affirming care for young people is protected and she's going to ensure that it remains that way. We need that type of energy here in Illinois. We need that type of energy across this country. And we will continue to follow this story about gender-affirming care for young people because it is just that important. For our next story, we're going to keep the trend of how important it is for us to be speaking out in this moment. Students at a Minnesota high school staged a walkout in protest of the removal of a song from their spring concert. Now, here's what we know. Band students at Watertown High School have been preparing for months for their spring concert, which showcases the instrumental piece titled A Mother of a Revolution. The school board held a meeting 6 days before the spring concert, 6 days, to determine whether or not the students would be permitted to play the piece due to the competition's ties to the LGBTQ+ community. A Mother of a Revolution was composed by Omar Thomas back in 2019 as a homage to all trans women, but especially the icon Marsha P. Johnson, who was known for her bravery during the Stonewall uprisings. And family, in a 7-1 vote, the school board voted almost unanimously to remove the piece from the spring concert, much to the dismay of many students and faculty, including board president Lori Hoffman, the only board member who voted against removing the composition from the spring concert. Mind you, family, parents were informed by the band director last October that the students would be playing A Mother of a Revolution and would be able to opt out of playing the piece if they so wished. The note sent to parents read, quote, "The purpose behind studying Mother of a Revolution is not to provoke controversy, but to deepen students' understanding of how music reflects the diverse experiences of humanity. Engaging with this piece helps foster empathy, cultural awareness, and a respect for the stories and struggles that shape our shared history." Well, that sounds good. But the board members who voted in favor of removing the song described the piece as, quote, "indoctrination," and were concerned that the playing of the song could invoke political violence. 7th grade trombonist Camilla pleaded with the school board to reconsider their decision, saying, "I don't think you guys understand how hard it is to listen to you guys not accept them, because I know what it's like to not be accepted. To hear them play a piece by an LGBTQ composer would mean so much. Whether they're trans, gay, whatever, because you're accepting them. You're letting the students that need to be accepted to be accepted." Child, from the babies, it's so clear. It's the adults that continue to get in the way. Now, news spread quickly about the school board's decision, and in response, on May 13th, students staged a walkout in protest. Hundreds of students walked out of class with signs in support for A Mother of a Revolution. Choir student Layla Turner told the local news that music should not be censored because people don't like what one person has to say. If you don't like it, then don't listen to it. As things stand right now, A Mother of a Revolution is still pulled from the spring concert. And this is what I mean about the intimidation tactics of the Trump administration and how it's showing up, even in our local communities. You can do what they say you're supposed to do, which is send a letter, giving parents the options to opt their children out. And if they don't opt them out and you proceed, well, look at here, the school board can still decide to step in and pull this song from their concert that they've been working on for months. Family, if we don't start infiltrating these school boards, getting our voices there ASAP, we're going to continue to see this, and we're going to continue to see books pulled from the shelves. And let me also say this. I'm disheartened by the 7-1 vote, but it gives me a whole lot of hope that hundreds of those students walked out, stood up, spoke out, and said that this is wrong. All is not lost. Family, all is not lost. In sad news today, former NBA player Jason Collins has passed away, surrounded by friends and loved ones at the young age of 47. NBA Chief Commissioner Adam Silver broke the news in a statement released by the NBA saying, quote, "Jason Collins' impact and influence extended far beyond basketball as he helped to make the NBA, WNBA, and larger sports communities more inclusive and welcoming for future generations. He exemplified outstanding leadership and professionalism throughout his 13-year career in the NBA and his dedicated work as an NBA Cares ambassador. Jason will be remembered not only for breaking barriers, but also for the kindness and humanity that defined his life and touched so many others. On behalf of the NBA, I send my heartfelt condolences to Jason's husband, Brunson, and his family, friends, and colleagues across our leagues." Collins' legacy with the NBA as the first openly gay player in the NBA broke down barriers, broke down doors, and prejudice for other players to come out should they wish to do so. Today, in this moment, family, as I'm recording this podcast, no other players have done so in the NBA in 13 years. But Jason's legacy lives on in the work he's done since his NBA retirement by raising funds for multiple LGBTQ plus organizations such as the Trevor Project, his countless speaking engagements across the country, youth camps, pride nights. Jason, after retirement, became a community advocate like I haven't seen before, like we haven't seen before, especially from a professional athlete in a male sport. Jason shared publicly back in December, and we reported about it here on the pod, that he was battling stage 4 glioblastoma, a cancer that affects the brain and the spinal cord. And he was seeking treatment abroad in Singapore in hopes of developing a personalized immunotherapy to combat the tumor's progression. I also understand that he pursued this treatment in hopes that it would lay the foundation for some type of cure for someone in the future, even if the treatment couldn't help him. That's the type of person Jason was. His family shared the following message after his passing. We are heartbroken to share that Jason Collins, our beloved husband, son, brother, and uncle, has died after a valiant fight with glioblastoma. Jason changed lives in unexpected ways and was an inspiration to all who knew him and to those who admired him from afar. We are grateful for the outpouring of love and prayers over the past 8 months and for the exceptional medical care Jason received from his doctors and nurses. Our family will miss him dearly. Rest in all your power, Jason Collins. You will be missed, you will be remembered, and your courage, my hope is that your courage will be contagious. Now feels like a perfect time to take a quick break. And we've got a queer news tip this week. So don't skip the break, okay? And thank you, Mimi, for the voicemail. Stay close.
Thank you, Anna, Deshawn, and family for inviting me, Mimi Gonzalez of Go Girl Saugatuck, to tell you all about this fantastic weekend in its divine number 9. This is a rebranded women's weekend, inclusive of all women in or out of the female spectrum. So our trans brothers are welcome. Our trans sisters are welcome. It is a women's weekend founded by women of color and for women of color and our allies. You're going to be having a great time. Just go check out our gallery at gogirlsaugatuck.com and get your tickets while you're there, because after Memorial Day, the prices go up just a little bit. Come and see us. My name's Mimi Gonzalez. My pronouns are the 4th person plural. That's right, collective pronouns. We, us, ours. Because that's going to be the only thing that gets us through this mess we're in. Come and have some queer joy with all of us at Go Girl Saugatuck, May 29 to 31 at the Dunes Resort. Only at the Dunes Resort in Saugatuck, Douglas, Michigan. You know you want to go. You know we want to see ya. Go Girl Saugatuck.
Did you know we had a newsletter? Yes. The Queer News Podcast has a weekly newsletter that comes out every Monday. There's a special newsletter for the QCrew, but there's a free newsletter for absolutely everybody. So if you want to stay in the know about what I got going on, what I got to say unfiltered, and just a list of all the stories covered every single week with time codes, yo, you got to subscribe to the newsletter. A link to subscribe is in the show notes. Welcome back to the show, family. Now, let's get into some culture and entertainment. The National Museum of African Art in Washington, D.C. has debuted a new exhibit titled Here, Pride and Belonging in African Art. The exhibit is based on years of close collaboration and dialogue with African visual art practitioners who claim belonging in the LGBTQ plus community however they define those terms, okay? They are united by a simple shared declaration. We are here and always have been and will be. The exhibit is supported by the Fisher Arts Impact Fund, and we appreciate them, okay? Now, curated by Kevin D. Dumichel and Sarah Berry Moses, the exhibit Almost Wasn't Here. The duo faced almost a year of challenges and setbacks, which resulted in the delay of the opening. This exhibit is part of the Here Project, a bigger research project dedicated to the documentation and preservation of African artists' conversations across the diaspora. We got to show love to our media friends at Gay Magazine, who reported that the exhibit Here is the largest exhibition of African LGBTQ+ art to date, boasting nearly 60 artworks and 30 featured LGBTQ+ artists from across Africa and the diaspora. Here, pride and belonging in African art will continue to be on display from now until August 23rd, 2026. So if you are in Washington, D.C., if you're traveling into D.C. this summer, go see this exhibit. These exhibits don't continue to exist if we don't show up saying that we want this, that we support this, that we want more of it. So go, okay? I've seen some of the pieces. It looks absolutely beautiful. Family, for our last story today, we're talking about El Bar, one of the newest nightclubs in North Halsted that aims to bring Latino culture to the neighborhood. Opened on St. Patrick's Day of this year, El Bar specializes in agave spirits and Latin music, promising a great time for guests, but especially Latino guests. Writer Lou from Windy City Times, one of my colleagues, got to speak with the owner, Miguel, about the creation of a Latino space for queer people in North Halsted, also known as Boys Town. Now, Miguel told Lou, quote, "Every bar always has something like a Latino night, but I feel like it would be nice to have more Latino bars in the area and also try something different." The owner, Miguel, is no stranger to the North Halsted community, as he has a restaurant not too far from where El Bar is now. When asked about how he wants people to feel at El Bar, Miguel replied, quote, "I want people to try things that maybe they haven't tried before, whether it's some mezcal, a margarita, or listening to a song they've never heard before." He said, "I want people to come here, enjoy, have fun, feel safe, feel welcome." Now, to talk a bit more about the piece they wrote with El Bar for Windy City Times' In La Vida newsletter, we have Lou on the podcast. Lou, thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm Lou Calzada. I use they, them pronouns, or really anything. And I am the newsletter coordinator for En La Vida, Windy City Times queer Latino newsletter. And yeah, I've been with Windy City Times a little over, I think, 2 years now, which is crazy. And I'm really grateful for the work we do and, creating that space. And I'm really grateful for the work that I get to do creating space for queer Latino people in the city, which really ties into what my story is about this week. And I really was so excited to do it when our managing editor, Jake, pitched it to me. So I talked to Miguel, the owner of El Bar, North Halsted's newest Latino nightclub. And it was something that was really, really interesting to me and something that meant a lot to me as somebody who grew up in Chicago and then went to college here, came of age kind of as a queer person here. I always heard from so many people, both through my work and then just day-to-day life, that they felt that, the queer club scene here, especially in the north side of Chicago, is, very white dominated. And they really wanted a space and hoped there could be space for people who, aren't white to, find their people and feel really represented. So I loved getting to speak to Miguel about how he wanted to create, a real firm Latino place for queer people. in, the North Halsted nightlife scene. And one thing that really stuck with me was when he said, a lot of other places, in the city, they can do Latino night here and Latino night there. But here at El Bar, it's going to be Latino night every night with the music. And then they really specialize in agave spirits. And I feel like that's really a niche that, people need because, like I said, I've heard from so many people that that's the kind of space that they're craving is something where, they can be themselves and be surrounded like people who look like them and celebrate them every single night. And I'm really, really excited about this. They opened on St. Patrick's Day and they're right next to Miguel's other late night food spot. So yeah, I can't wait to sample them both this summer now that the weather's getting good. And I hope people who are listening to this will also go check it out.
Lou, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for contributing to this week's episode and for the work you're doing with In La Vida and amplifying Latinx stories across Chicago. We need it more than ever before. And so, family, go check out El Bar, okay? We've been fortunate enough to have some streak of warm weather lately, which is a sign to get outside and check out El Bar. They are open Thursday through Sunday from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. and are located on the intersection of Belmont and North Halsted. They right in the middle of all of it. So when you walk in Halstead, go into El Bar too, okay? Period. We want more of this. And now it's time for Anna's Got a Word because Anna's always got a word. And my word for this week is find yourself. Find yourself. This word came to me because on Friday night, I had the opportunity to MC Lambda Legal's gala. It's called the Bond Foster Celebration. And I got an opportunity to MC the night, to help them raise a lot of money for the work that Lambda Legal is doing. And as you all know, I speak about Lambda Legal quite often when talking about who is fighting on our behalf. They are in the courtrooms across the country fighting on our behalf. And when I was up there hosting in front of this room of hundreds of people, doing what I do, it's the first time in a long time where I felt like I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I got off that stage and we helped raise a whole lot of money for Lambda Legal, there were so many people that came up to me that night that said that I did a good job. Now, here's the thing. People don't have to tell you did a good job. They could walk right by you. They don't have to stop to say anything. No one has to appease you. And when I tell you I couldn't walk 5 steps without someone stopping me and saying that they really enjoyed how I emceed the night, how I brought energy to this event full of lawyers, okay? And how much they appreciated my voice. I felt like I found myself in that moment. I was reminded that I am good at this, that I do this, that there are environments and spaces where I really thrive. And when my wife and Carter told me that I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing, that I was in my element, I felt that in my bones. And I want you all to feel that. I want you all to find yourself and find yourself in places and doing things that come with ease. When you find that ease, you have found yourself. That's all I got, family. All right. I'll talk to y'all on our Substack, yes? All right now. Till next week. Peace. If you've enjoyed what you heard, rate and review us inside your favorite podcasting app. This podcast is written and produced by me, Anna Deshawn. Podcast editing by Ryan Woodhall. And brought to you by E3 Radio and distributed on The Cube. We are Queer News Done Right.